lifetime of pursuit of excellence.
You know what? That's so difficult, but it's great when people find that direction they want and then to take the name of the path.
Right.
I think that's definitely from the conversations we've had. That's always been the conversation, is trying to make people better. We do that by setting an example. Right. So it's great that you do that. I mean, where can we get some more info on your stuff, on, if people want to get a hold of you, whatever else?
Sure. The easiest way is just to give me a call. Call at 918-791-5509. And, of course, we'll have some of the typical internet marketing and things of that nature out in the near future as well.
Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit more about what your program kind of entails, what it is that you're looking to accomplish, what people can expect when they come out and get to hang out with the Almighty Hoyt Bacon.
Well, the important thing is that we just develop a relationship and that we get to ultimately sit on the same side of the table to where that I work as a partner to help you and your organization move forward, in a positive direction. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we start with strategic planning. Sometimes we start with you've got just a training problem. You've got a sales force that can do better if they just had skill sets. So we help install those skill sets, folks.
Best thing to come out of OSU, Barry Sanders.
No, man. Phenomenal.
No doubt in my mind.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I grew up in Wisconsin, so I'm obviously a Badgers fan, a Wisconsin Badgers fan. But when I moved here, my boys' mom, my boys are Ethan and Ryan, 16 and 15 now. She said, if we're going to live here, and she says, you're going to have to pick a team. And she's like, it's either going to have to be OU.
Boomer.
OSU or like Texas Tech or whatever those other podunk don't even matter schools are. I was like, okay, I'm going to go with OSU just based simply off of Barry Sanders. That guy, absolutely amazing ball player. So,
that's enough.
Definitely. So,
and the counter to that, by the way, is orange.
I'm colorblind, so school colors mean nothing to me. However, my wife sees color very fluently, and she hates the color orange. Yeah. So, I'm a big OU fan.
That's so funny. Some people talk color to you, and you're just like,
I
don't know. I don't get it.
And to this day, my wife and I have been together for 11 years. And to this day, she sends me text or something and says, hey, what color nails should I get done this week? And I'm like, it really doesn't matter. You're still asking a colorblind question. Colors 11 years later. Come on.
You're just a dog. That's how it is. just a dog. So Hoyt, with military children and stuff, it's really weird how it kind of transfers, and that's why we started what we started out here with True North, is because we knew the impact of military leadership, and maybe it's just the way that we kind of present that image of how to communicate and how to. Because everybody, when they think military leadership, when they think military, they think just running and gunning stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's so much more than that. It's so much deeper than that, because we're almost forced to connect at different levels with those that we do lead. So with other companies and businesses that come out here, we want to try and encourage them to kind of have that same stance to get to really know your people. Mm-hmm. And I had a conversation, I don't even remember who I had the conversation with in regards to that, about really wanting that leaders need to connect with those that they're leading, because the second they stop doing that, there is no loyalty. Mm-hmm. But I wanted you on here today because I wanted your opinion on women in leadership, and just basically society as a whole, with how women in leadership is viewed. And I know we kind of have not necessarily different opinions, but your opinion is a great opinion when it comes to women in leadership, and I'd love to hear about it. I know everyone that listens to the podcast would love to hear about it as well. So,
well, I can only speak to myself and my experiences. When I hear the term women in leadership, it kind of sets me back a little, because I truly, honestly don't look at gender when it comes to leadership. There's leaders. Mm-hmm. I am a leader in this field, or I'm a leader in this position, or I'm a leader in this genre. That's how I personally look at it. There are good leaders and there are bad leaders. Some of them are women, some of them are men. But personally, I look at it as a leader. Mm-hmm. I was raised by a strong single mother who was a widow at a very young age. Mm-hmm. She raised me to know that be a strong person, be a strong woman, but be a strong person. Look out for yourself. Make sure that you can take care of yourself as an adult. Don't rely on anyone else. It wasn't so much male or female. It was just be a strong person. So I've kind of instilled that in my children as well and myself, and I don't look at gender. I get that movement. I get how people think that way. For me personally, I just see leadership.
Now, why does society view the difference between the two? Because there's an obvious distinction
There is.
between, you know, you walk in and you've got that woman that's in charge, you know, and they get that misconception that either, you know, if they're very strong and they're passionate and they're vocal, they're automatically the bitch, you know, and you see that a lot. And or they're too timid or they're not strong enough. So it's like, it seems to me like it's almost like a no-win situation for a lot of women that are in some of these things until they gain control of themselves and say, you know, you can think what you want, but I'm leading this train, and you can either follow me or, you know, exit stage left.
Here's another thing I say, that the train is leaving the station. You can get on board, but it's going. For me personally, people treat me how I allow them to treat me. And that's how I walk through my life. And there is a fine balance of making a decision and being a leader as a female and deciding if you're worried about what people think. It's none of my business what other people think of me.
Yeah, you know, and you and I had that conversation.
They step out and do anything or make any decision, they're apologizing for it.
There's guys like that too.
There's guys like that too.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure there are. Make a decision. That's my number one tip for a leader. We are looking to leaders to make a decision.
Yeah.
Let the chips fall where they may. I've made decisions that I've had to turn around and change because I learned something different that would have impacted my decision at the time had I known it. But in that moment, with the information I had and someone needed an answer, I gave it to them. Make a decision. When you hesitate to make a decision, that's where your followers, where they hesitate to follow a leader. When you are in that moment and you are that go-to person, make a decision.
Yeah.
Don't hesitate. Don't waver. Don't say, I'll get back with you. If it's something that needs to happen in that moment, do it.
That's one thing that I always
got it started. I have learned so much
Yeah.
about the bug business. He's brilliant.
Yeah.
Jeff Lowe's his name.
What area do you guys work? I guess is probably a big question to ask, because a lot of people that listen to the podcast stuff, you know,
Yep.
you know, what's your area?
We'll go a 40-mile radius of Joplin.
That's not bad. I mean, that's a pretty good area.
Oklahoma excluded. Not licensed in Oklahoma. We're licensed in Kansas and Missouri.
Yeah.
Insured both states.
It's ironic. Do you know Kevin Upshaw is also a bug guy?
I did not know that.
How funny is that? Is that more and more that you guys have in common? But yeah, he's an exterminator as well.
I might
know.
have to reach out to him if I have, because with Facebook you can set a radius if you say you boost a post.
Yeah.
But I get calls from Oklahoma. I might reach out to him and, send them his way.
Yeah, I know he works Arkansas. I think is a big part of his demographic as well. But it's super awesome. But you and I were having a fun story about the fact that not only do you do insect stuff, but
I've been known to do.
You can say it. Trash pandas.
Trash pandas, yeah.
Trash pandas.
Yes.
You can tell by the look on my face, my distaste.
You don't like
If you don't know what a
trash
trash panda is, that's a raccoon.
Right.
It's a possum. If anybody's heard me talk about my chickens, I have
Yes,
got...
you've lost many a bird
Yeah.
to a trash panda.
Yep, and to foxes and to possums.
Right.
Possums are probably the worst, just because they are so nasty looking. Like, and you hear people all the time like, "Oh, but they're so cute." Negative.
Yeah, no,
Negative.
no,
They're dirty. They're
no.
gross. The best story I've got. Okay, so I'd have a live trap,
Right.
out there, and well, first I'd started videoing the fact that they were doing patrols on my chicken coop. So it'd be a raccoon.
Right.
Half hour later, it'd be a possum. Half hour later, it'd be a raccoon. Half hour later, a possum.
Almost like they were having meetings.
Yeah. So I put out live traps, and I come out there one morning, and I've got a raccoon in one. I've got a possum in another. Okay. Now, a raccoon I consider a pretty good adversary. They're really smart. Watch them crawl up fences and how they work. They're
Yep.
extremely intelligent. And I won't say what I did to said raccoon when I caught him, but first he had this cute look like, "Please, mister, don't hurt me. I'm just trying to eat.
And you
gotta
went,
feed my
"Okay."
babies." And then he started really growling at me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and then he just magically died. Somehow.
Right.
I don't know how
It
he
happens.
died. It happens. And then I went over to the possum, and it was even quicker. So when the raccoon died,
Uh-huh.
I took it out to the woods because it's got to feed the earth.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm not sure if you know this or not, okay? When you go fishing, right, and you go out there and you catch like a trash fish, like say it's a drum or, just
Right.
something that's crappy. What you do to appease the fish gods is you take it and you flip it as hard as you can. And when it hits the water, it does this like real weird spin and swims off. And that's how you appease the fish gods.
Right.
So my thought process is when the possum magically died, I had to do
Right.
the same thing.
Right.
So where I set the raccoon down, the possum got the nice little flip out into the woods to appease the chicken gods with the chickens I have. So tell us more, like the fact that you do that kind of stuff, is that unique for a pest guy to...
I don't. Yeah, it kind of is. Like I said, Muskrat Jeff, he runs the day to day. He does most of the routine, like the spraying and the granulars in the yard inside and out. When I'm in off the road, I get the hey, there's something in my attic call.
Mm-hmm.
We never know what it might be, but I'll go out and take a look. It's and sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's a drug out process.
I believe it, but that is another example of how your grinding mentality, your ability, your want to work, even sometimes when it's a little bit more difficult or a little bit more challenging. And that's one of the things, for you and me, that I think we can really appreciate each other, that
Right.
value
Absolutely.
of the fact.
All that stuff.
That's a huge plus. And I've had you come out here a couple of times.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
you're one of those handy guys where I'm like, hey Mike, I could use a little help with some of this welding stuff or breaking this part, and you're like, well,
I'll be right out, brother. You bet.
and you come on
If I
out.
can't fix it, it ain't broke.
Yeah. That's a fact. And you restore cars too.
Yeah.
I've
yeah.
seen some
Yeah.
of the vehicles you've done.
Yep.
It's amazing. Like if you're watching this, I know you've got pictures
Yeah.
floating around out there. I just think it's amazing. But again, that just speaks to you, the fact that, you get out of anything what you put into it.
That's
even if you
that's
get a
life.
beat up car, how you can turn that into what you want
Yeah,
through
and
hard work.
it takes time. It takes hard work, and it's that way in life with just about anything.
Yeah.
You get out of it what you put into it, and you a while ago you touched on being self-employed and
Mhm.
hustling and this, that, and the other. Especially when you hustle,
Yeah.
you get out of it what you put into it, and you can, for lack of better terms, you can make as much or as little money as you're willing to put the effort out for.
Yeah.
So
And I think it's just kind of a different mindset, and you almost have to have that different mindset if you're going to be a business owner or if you're going to get into something like that.
Yep.
You have to realize, and I've had this conversation with people before. When it's like, well, you own a business, you've got to have this and this and this. I'm like, whoa, well, let's back up this train a little bit, because what I have is a lot of hours invested in
Mhm.
working.
Yeah.
And knowing that, you've got to build everything first. You have to have that solid foundation where, most people aren't willing to really establish that solid foundation. They
Well-
kind of put the cart before the horse, so to speak.
with like Wise Guy Pest Control,
Mhm.
we have started building slow. Could I have a fleet of new trucks? Absolutely. We are debt free.
Yeah.
We don't owe anything on our office. We don't owe anybody anything. We could go borrow a bunch of money and flood the advertising market.
Mhm.
I don't see that as a good business plan.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't have to worry about paying the electric bill tomorrow
Yeah.
because we're debt free. So
I still have to worry about it. but it's just because it's the growing. It's realizing that we can't have the most amazing stuff, but we chip away at it. We chip
Absolutely.
away at those little successes. A lot of people, I think they forget to kind of everyone wants to set that huge long-term goal of success.
Uh-huh.
What they view as that end point as being a successful business owner,
Mhm.
successful in fitness, successful in whatever it is. But I think in order to do that, you have to set those little goals. And when you win those little goals, the quicker ones, where it's like, okay, I got new masks for people that
Right.
are out. That to me, that's a victory. And that's what we build off of.
Even if you have to buy 5 new masks at a time.
Yeah, the pulse of everything that you're seeing in Jefferson City, and you've been in office now how long?
Since January, so we're coming down to the end of the session, which is May the 17th.
Are you excited for a little break?
Definitely.
I believe it. I know you're a solid family man. That's one thing that's super commendable. And so I know I'm sure the whole family's like, oh, it'd be nice to have.
Yeah, it gets old, every week having to leave on Monday and be gone through the week until Thursday. But they've adjusted pretty well to it, and it's been quite a transition, between family and work and all those things. But we've come through it pretty good.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. So I told you earlier when we were on break there that I wanted to read something to you. I think most people, the pulse that we're at with the country right now is we want people that we know, one, that are just grounded in their ways. They're open to different things. But, one thing that we were talking about was the fact that it's tough as a well-grounded politician to make those tough decisions sometimes, because you can't please everybody, but you can stay true to yourself. And I think that's the biggest thing that people have to remember, is the fact that if that you're a real person, you're a real person behind making these decisions. And I know from the conversations we had, it weighs on you, and you come at it with an educated point of view, and you want to know everything about it. But I wanted to read to you. You said you'd never seen the movie The Kingdom. And so this movie is Jamie Foxx. And what it is, he's an FBI agent. And there's a bomb that goes off in Saudi Arabia, and an FBI guy is killed. And so Jamie Foxx says, well, I want to bring my team over there, and all the political red tape. No, we can't have more FBI guys on Saudi soil and all this other stuff. And the FBI director, who is played by Richard Jenkins, actually goes to bat for this team that wants to go, and goes to bat for the FBI. And this is stuff that you just don't see out of good leaders. But I wanted to read it, what he says in there. And he was talking about, he was an officer in Vietnam. And this is Richard Jenkins that's having this conversation. And he said, Westmoreland made all of us officers write our own obituaries during Tet, when we thought the calling were going to end it all right there. And once we clued into the fact that life is infinite, the thought of losing it didn't scare us anymore. The end comes no matter what. The only thing that matters is how do you want to go out, on your feet or on your knees. He said, I bring that lesson to this job. I act knowing that someday this job will end, no matter what. You should do the same. So it's that knowing, hey, I was put here for a reason, and I'm going to make the moral good decision, good, bad, or indifferent, because there's always going to be people out there. You're always going to have the haters.
Yeah.
You're always going to have people messaging you on Facebook and sending you 200 emails, about their opinions and all that stuff. But it's your responsibility as a politician to be true to yourself and to be true to the job and realize it's not always going to be there. So I'm going to make the biggest impact I can, love it or leave it, and still be open to the idea of change and whatever else. But
Sure.
I think about that, when nowadays when you see politicians, very self-serving, very agenda-driven, and blows my mind. How do you deal with that as a politician who does want to stay, with the moral compass and be able to make those tough decisions and, be passionate about your feelings? How do you adjust to that?
Sure. There's a lot of adjustment there. What you're saying is so true about being a principled leader. And that, I think, it goes for a lot of different things, not just politics, but especially politics. And that is what I see in my short term there is, and I'm a big time observer. I'm a student of human nature, for the good and for the worse, right? And so, but what I see is a lot of people that get there and they've never really been truly grounded in who they are and what they believe. And that's a bad thing. To get into a situation where you're influencing public policy and you don't have that. So that's something that, to me, has been a huge advantage. I have a solid foundation. I know what I believe. Yeah, there's things that, you can change on to some degree, and there's things that you're not going to change on. I'm not going to change on. And so, and data, that's a huge influence of my decision-making process. I do want to look at the numbers and how has this been implemented in other places. Has it worked? Has it not worked? That all figures into it. But I tell people this. There's three things that I make my decisions by. Number one, I answer to God first. Because when this is all over, like you said, and it will be,
Yeah.
what's going to be really matter, that I made sure that I did what pleased Him. And so I'm not going to compromise those things. I'm going to answer to Him in the end. I don't take this job that seriously when it comes to understanding that, if I get voted out next term or whatever, it's not going to break my heart, because I've got other things that I can do in life. I took a huge pay cut to do this. It's not because of money. I can tell you that. I can promise you that. And it's something that your motivation should be huge in that, and what drives you. And my motivation is service, and that is I want to do the things and make the decisions that is going to be the best for the people, where that they succeed and they thrive, because I was influential in some way, shape, or form in making policy that helped them to thrive and to succeed. When it comes to business, when it comes to free market ideas, when it comes to lower taxes and less regulation, all those things, I think, figure into the livelihood of Missourians. And so when I leave office, that's going to be my litmus test of whether I accomplished anything or, really succeeded. And that is, did I make life better for Missourians? Did I make decisions that is going to benefit them and benefit our state? And so it helps me, because I really don't have to. There's a lot of there are issues that are really complex, that you really have to dig into to even wrap your mind around, and to understand. And I enjoy that part of it, that learning process. There are those kind of things, but really what it all comes down to is just, did I make the right decision, and can I live with it? And does that mean that we always make the perfect right decision? There's going to be times, whenever my term is up, that I look back and I'll probably wish I'd have done this different or that different. That's part of it. That's part of that. Sometimes you make a decision and then you find out more information.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
That's a tough one.
It's moving so fast up there, too.
And you see so many people hear that like that. And so that kind of changes that whole speed of how they want to do it.
Yeah.
And after that happens, I'm not yelling just to yell. Then it's that same amount of praise. I'm yelling just as loud when I'm praising and when I'm fired up. I guarantee there's probably been 100 people in the class. And, we've had like 600 people through our class now, somewhere in that area.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere in that area. But how many of them I've high-fived, because I'm just so excited out there and pumped up, just banging on my chest like, yes, this is what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, because they get rewarded. If they do something right out there, they get rewarded for it, whether it be in the form of you giving them a high five in the middle of a battle, or if the Op 4 kind of backs off a little bit and gives them a little bit of leeway.
Yeah.
But, for those of you who are listening and don't quite understand what it is we're talking about, it's a leadership development company. So we take our military experience and we correlate that to how it translates to the civilian world. It's just another notch in their belt that they can take back to their company and be like, wow, and this totally beat sitting in front of a PowerPoint for 4 hours 100%. Trying to keep my eyelids open.
100%.
We teach relatively the same concepts, just in a different hands-on,
in our
outside
way.
the box kind of way.
And we talk about our experiences with it, which I think is also a big difference. And we ask the classes experience, experiences they've had, things that affect them when it comes to leadership. And you can always see those moments when people really have those self-reflection moments where it's like, I think that might be me.
Yeah.
I think it might be me that's a little bit too quiet. I think maybe it's a little bit too me that gets a little bit too wound up. Because for us in our positions and how we talk about it, we're humble by it. We recognize the fact that we've got our own shortcomings,
right?
And we're such family, and we're tied so much with it that we don't have that fear of jabbing at the other one to be like, do the little knife hand point and be like, hey, that's you, Jimmy. And I'm like, yeah, I know that's kind of me.
But that's how I wish every company worked. We've worked for companies where there was no camaraderie, there was no morale. There wasn't, people would rather stab you in the back than actually hold you up.
Step on your neck just to get to that next spot.
I wish that, and that's one thing I think that companies see when they come out here is the way that we work together as a whole. we've only done this for 2 years and some change, and we've only known some of
in
these
this
guys
company,
for
leadership wise and training wise, we've got.
But I'm just saying the
200
way that we work together out here.
Yeah.
I feel like I've known some of these guys for 10 years, and
I know.
my 1 year anniversary or friendiversary on Facebook comes up. I'm like, holy crap! No, that's a lie.
Yeah,
it's
Facebook,
a Mandela
Facebook
effect. Or
lies.
I'm in the Matrix or
Facebook
something.
lies.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
But that's what we want for every company that comes out here, is to be able to operate like that and really just be symbiotic with each other.
So getting back to the baseball game, because that's one of the big things we were talking about. We got a little diverted just based on the fact that talking about the Outlaws go through our training. And we'll dive back more into the leadership training stuff, but talking more about this baseball game and the atmosphere and the timing. Like I said, we're going to have fireworks out there. You come into the game, it's $5 at the door unless you're a veteran. Then it's free. You get to come in and enjoy some good baseball. We've got a bunch of vendors that are going to be out there, which is awesome because we want people to be able to showcase what they offer, to veterans and all that stuff
there's
too.
Space out there.
Compass Quest will be out there. Heartland K9 for Veterans will be out there. Obviously, we'll be out there. And then the game, they're playing the Joplin All-Stars, which isn't one of the Mink League teams. What it is like an all-star team of the older crew of Joplin baseball players that come out and they play against the Outlaws. So it's a non-league game, so that gives us the freedom of movement to stop the game and recognize a veteran in the community. It gives us a chance to recognize a local organization. I know last year what we did for first pitch stuff, because the teams, and just so everybody knows, the task force that come out and they do their thing, at the end of the class, we decided top task force. That task force that worked together the best. We recognize the instructor. We recognize the people in the class because that's kind of a big deal. We kind of like that competition thing. And the Outlaws loved that aspect.
Yeah.
So purposefully, we kept it hidden who the top task force was. And then when it was game time, when they did the introductions, they introduced them by task force.
Yep.
And then
we all got to go out there on the field and
the
stand with our
instructors went
teams.
out there.
Yep.
And then I came out and I announced who the top task force was and who the top task force instructor was, got to throw the first pitch.
Yep.
And it was so funny because last year it was a task force devil dog and Brian Rogers. I love Brian. He's awesome. This dude could hit a moving target at 1,000 meters. No problem. But you ask him to throw a baseball, oh my gosh.
Right.
It hits you in the feels because you feel bad for the guy.
It was comedy.
So 4 hours before the game, me, him, and Greg are all out in the parking lot practicing his throw. And I mean, have you ever tried to teach somebody to fish? Like use a bait caster or something? And you just get that it was like that throwing a baseball. This is an all-American kid.
And if you want to try this out for yourself, okay, grab a baseball, put it in your non-dominant hand, and then try to throw it. Because I've done that, and I feel like I'm throwing like a girl. Not,
There's some girls that can really throw. That could easily out-throw Brian without question.
I agree.
But it was awesome. But the cool part was the fact that, he did it. We got to reward him, and he got to go out there and, showcase the fact that it was his task force that won it. For us, when we talk about the leadership training, it's all about empowerment. We want people to feel that recognition of when they're showing true potential, or when they have a real act of genuine leadership, or when they've got a real act of just humanity. That kind of stuff is what we should be talking about and appreciating, not just the effort. Like, I get effort, like it's awesome.
Yeah.
But those that are really taking steps to improve themselves. And that's another thing I love about the Joplin Outlaws and Mark Raines, is the fact that the Outlaws is a team in a baseball league where these kids don't have to play it. They volunteer because they want to improve their skills. They want to go through to that next level. How can we not support that and embrace that?
Absolutely.
And recognize that these kids really want to, one, the love game of baseball, and two, try and improve themselves, three, be good examples for the kids that are coming out there and bringing back and keeping alive that great American sport that is baseball. And for us to be able to put this on again, celebrating veterans, celebrating America's favorite pastime, dollar beer, which is America's second favorite pastime, all in the same location, eating good food, eating ribs and turkey legs and all that stuff, and getting out there and having the dollar beer and peanuts and all that stuff. Companies, if you go to our website, at tneleader.com, and you go to upcoming events. And there in the upcoming events is the little tab for to be a sponsor. You can look on there for the Outlaws game. So you're going to want to check that out.
You got several levels of sponsorship as well, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So you got the platinum sponsorship, you've got the gold sponsorship, the silver, and then the bronze.
And they're broken down pretty easy. And those are for the companies.
Yeah.
Now, if anybody
Yeah.
wants to donate to Brotherhood of Warriors, they can. I'm getting that set up on the website as we're talking, for an opportunity for them to just donate via PayPal, whatever else. But on there with the platinum, that's obviously the biggest sponsorship.
Right.
That either goes, like Alorica has already done, is one of the platinum sponsors, which is fantastic. They're the ones putting the Outlaws through the training.
Yeah.
You get all these, you get free tickets, you get all this other stuff, and all the proceeds are going to Brotherhood of Warriors. If you go right on the website at tneleader.com, go to the upcoming video or upcoming events, and then right on there, it's got all that stuff listed. There's also a PDF file on there, so it's downloadable for anybody that just wants to print it off and start to put up a bunch of copies,
Right. And,
whatever you want to do.
We'll also share that on the Brotherhood of Warriors Facebook page as well.
Yep.
So if you go on there on the Facebook, look up Brotherhood of Warriors. We'll be sharing, all of the Joplin Outlaws True North stuff as well.
Yeah.
It's a handshake relationship. So
Doing
you're
a
helping
silent
us
auction, raffles as well.
Mhm.
So if anybody's got anything that they want to raffle, auction off, all that stuff, we can do. We're going to be right back here in a minute. We're going to take our break and take a little shout out to our guys over at Tommy Hawks.
out. Yes, sir.
Tommy Hawk's Axe House, the biggest axe throwing venue in the Midwest, right here in Springfield. Indoor axe throwing, shuffleboard, cornhole, and more. We are a BYOB establishment. Make your reservation online at www.tommyhawks.net.
That was a great promo from Tommy Hawks. Man, I love that place. That
Yeah.
ability to throw tomahawks at will.
Right.
Yes, please.
Well, not Will. I mean, Will wouldn't appreciate that a whole lot, but
No.
know.
True. But Tommy Hawks is awesome.
Yes.
We've got a lot of big things coming up and going on with them. They're one of our, another veteran organization that we love right down in Springfield, Missouri. I hope people will go check them out because it's what better fun than to
Right.
be able to throw tomahawks, do the whole cornhole stuff.
and it's a family setting too, so your kids can go out there. They've got other games.
Yeah, a little
and
bit
stuff.
older.
I mean,
You're looking at probably 12, 14, I think, is what they kind of
Yeah.
want. But, and that's a safety thing. I
Right.
get it, but there's other stuff for kids to do there that are
Yeah.
right at that age, too, be able to do cornhole stuff and everything. They're also going to be out there for Veteran Appreciation
Awesome.
Night. Out there, they're going to have a booth with their table and flyers and all
Yeah.
that stuff, what they got going on at Tommy Hawks, which is a huge deal. We absolutely love those guys there. They've been nothing but supportive of us. We're supportive of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's one of the great things about veterans. Again, it's like another veteran organization.
Yeah. We're
It's just got that magnetic
magnetized.
draw. Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is super
Just
cool.
drawn to each other.
So we talked about the Outlaws and how much we're looking forward to it, how awesome it is, that ability for us to go out there. And for us, the game night, that's a big break. Like the last
we
2
just kinda
years.
relax and
Last 2 years, not necessarily. Lona did a lot of work. You
Lona,
guys did a lot of
yeah.
work, but maybe just for me.
we don't give Lona enough credit.
I
I don't think we do. As much as she does behind the scenes and for stuff like that. Like, we're all out there having fun and doing our thing.
She's
and
sweating,
she is
and got her
sweating.
shirt tied
Yeah.
up and just giving that look like,
Selling
I'm good,
shirts
babe.
and
I'm
hats
good, babe.
and-
Everything's good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to go play baseball. Last 2 years I've got to go out there and play, which is
Yeah.
awesome, and we get to rub elbows, but I think we realize that she enjoys that too.
Oh, yeah.
She has to realize how needed and appreciated she is.
Yeah.
And we always try to take every opportunity to let her know that,
Right.
without-
And it doesn't
without
go to her head.
Yeah.
She's not cocky about it. She's not like, well, if you didn't have me, you guys wouldn't.
Yeah.
She's not like that at all. Like,
It's kind of a big deal.
She's extremely humble about it, and she's just a subject matter expert on everything that she does. So,
And again, she was right there when we started.
Mhm.
So for this segment, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the leadership training, about why it's important to us, and I think it's a great opportunity with having you on here because you've been, my right hand man through this whole thing. So you've seen the passion, you've been a part of the passion. You're a big reason for the vision. You're a big contributor to the vision and everything that's going on. And for me, I know I feel like a broken record sometimes, but I feel like but people don't necessarily, I don't think, see it like that because I'm just so dang passionate about what it is that we do.
Right.
You know, out here at True North, we've got 15 acres, we've got airsoft fields, we've got escape rooms, and that's a small part. We've got this new classroom that's all done that can seat 40.
Right.
But what it boils down to for us,
Those are just facilitators to really what it is that we.
yeah, to showcase,
Yeah.
you know, for us to be able to really put in the spotlight other veterans and what it is that makes them tick, and then watch people grow from what it is that makes, you know, that what's helped us, you know, for them to have that kind of aha moment. I wanted
Yeah.
to talk about what's the biggest thing for you that really, let's do this in a few parts.
Okay.
We'll start off with the fact, your biggest and best feeling you have when you're out here and you're having that opportunity, that move, because we all have
Man.
those moments where we step back. I want to hear about a
Yeah.
moment where you just step back and just like,
Ultimately, I have it at every class. That's why I love what we do. I mean, it's kind of the same platform. It's the same format for each level. You know, we've got several different levels of training, but
also on the website.
it's typically different people that come out here for every class, and that's what makes it unique, because we can run the same class every day with different people and it's never the same.
Mm-hmm.
It really isn't. You see the people change, and you see that light bulb come on, and you see just that the change in character. You know, they come out here and they like you said, they think we're going to be all knife hand, tell them to do push-ups and stuff because we're all special operations veterans and blah blah blah.
And
we have
Marines,
tattoos and big
the
tight
crews.
shirts, but no, it's not like that. You know, once they get through the classroom portion, which is what we start with, and they get to hear a lot of our experiences, and then so that they've got that twinge of fear in their eye in the beginning, and you know, by the end of the day, they're all sweaty and they're laughing and they're high-fiving each other, and they have no fear that they went out there and just shot a bunch of people with airsoft guns.
Yeah, you know, and it's in saying that, I completely agree. But I think by the time they get to the end, they realize it's so much more
Right.
than just running around out there and shooting people. And I think that's one thing when I'm always talking to companies and I'm talking to people about how much different it is. Like, you can do team building stuff and you can play airsoft and you can do capture the flag. But that's missing the point of what we do with the leadership training.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I've really enjoyed with watching, like you and Brian and Matt and Kevin and Jason and Cruz and all you guys grow on your side, on the instructor side, is that real appreciation of how we can correlate what it is that they're doing out there to actual stuff they can apply back in the real world that
Right.
makes sense, that makes it much more than just a friendly, fun day where
Yeah.
you do a talent show.
And when you see that transformation in somebody within an 8-hour period, it's huge. It's enormous for us as instructors and us as people that are trying to relay our experiences and build somebody up as a leader. By the end of the day, when you see that, even if it's a small transformation, it is so rewarding. And I don't know if you can throw this up here, but that picture that you have in the presentation that we do in the beginning of the class where I'm smiling and you're just like,
In the promo video?
yeah. I don't know if you can throw that up there or not, but that face right there is how I feel every class, because it's just the
think we can
embodiment.
make that happen.
Yeah, it's the embodiment of my joy for my job, my passion for my job. That's
Zach just said, we'll go ahead and make that happen.
Fantastic.
So we'll get that out there because, you know, that's one thing. And again, on our website, on tneleader.com, when you click on there and you go to our, that talks about our leadership training, it's got our training video right on there. And that's what you're referencing.
yeah.
I'm sure that's
yeah,
what
right.
you're referencing.
It's right at the end of that video.
Right
yeah.
at the end of the video, it pans over to you because I'm standing there giving a brief or talking about something, and you just get this look on your face of like real joy. Either
Yeah.
one, picturing me without clothes on, but I don't think that's the case. I
No.
feel like it's
No,
just
I mean, you can keep thinking that, but
no.
threat that's right in front of you, and that's fine. You should always be prepared to do that. But when you really take a step back and you look at what's going on over here and how that affects what's going on over here.
Oh, yeah.
And how that affects what's going on over here. And you see all the mechanics behind it. You really start to understand the entire process.
Oh, yeah.
Of what you're teaching people out here and what you're expecting these instructors to pass on. So-
And you know, and that's one thing that we talk about in class. We talk about the difference between a fire marshal and a firefighter. And that fire marshal's got to be able to have that 10,000 view, because he has to be able to say, okay, this is what's going to happen. These are the moving parts. This is what we have to think about. Whereas the firefighter's just going in and putting out the fire, bang, putting it down, and then they're going out,
Yeah.
rolling the hose and moving out. So for the fire marshal, like you said, it's at 3 and 4 tiers of what's got to happen and how it's going to happen. And I do talk about the 50-meter target a lot, you know, when because it's that immediate threat. But I also say, do not forget about that 300-meter target, because that can become a 50-meter
It
target
gets close.
really quick.
And I'll be honest, I'm a bit of a procrastinator, and a lot of times those 300-meter targets sneak up on you really, really fast.
You know, I don't know, but I really think that's an NCO thing. Like, because we say to ourselves, "Oh, we got it. We got this."
Yeah.
You know, it sneaks up on us, and we end up putting out a whole crap ton of fires. We get it done.
Yeah,
we feel good
it
about
happens.
it. But when you've got those like super planners, those guys that are super like, you know, have to have this stuff done so they can look at, you know, double check and triple check and all that stuff. For us, we're like, yeah, we're just going to nail it on the first time. Well, we can kind of delay this because we know we'll get it done. It'll
'Cause
be,
when you look back on it, when you do that after action review, you're always like, well, if I would have planned a little bit better, I might have done it this way. But
Yeah.
because I didn't plan, we did it this way, and it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But next time we're going to do it this way, and it's going to be fantastic. But this time it was pretty awesome.
military style training. They're expecting, you know, the flat brims and coming out knife handing everybody and doing push ups. And like you said, sometimes, you know, that the NCO in us, non-commissioned officer, kind of comes out where we know we have to kind of lead and guide with a little bit of that
Yeah.
strong arm. And, you know, I think for a lot of the kids nowadays, they're not necessarily used to that. But how responsive they were to it is what really makes it worth it. They're like,
Well,
Man.
one of the things that really allows a person to grow and develop as a leader and a mentor is their failures. And if you can, in a controlled environment, set up a scenario where pass or fail, you're going to do something wrong, but the main intent is to see your integrity and your character and how you handle the situation. You're going to grow more as an individual and as a leader by experiencing that failure and then learning what not to do in the future. And the military does the same thing. We'll go out in training environments where it's set up for you. It's like what do they call it on Star Trek? The Quasi-Maru,
Yeah.
or something like that.
I don't know, I'm not I don't watch Star Trek.
Star Trek's not my thing. I'm more of a Star Wars guy. Give me a lightsaber, it's on. Dark Lord of the Sith right here.
You play with Missouri. What is it? Missouri
Warriors, yeah.
Missouri Warriors.
Yeah, yeah.
I couldn't think of it. I know you play with Missouri Warriors.
I do.
Same thing for football. You know, teams and sports related stuff where it's like those guys. You've got to be back out on the field.
Sure.
You know, if you're in a key position, I need you healthy. And that stuff. And I think sports teams do a pretty good job of pushing nutrition.
Well, and that's the thing that's so odd to me is that if you want to find value in something, you look where it's being used already. And so you think, okay, the professional athletes are doing all types of physical therapy, all types of nutrition supplementation. Why aren't we doing it clinically? Why aren't we doing it in our own lives?
Yeah, and think about that. And for those that are listening, business owners, stuff like that, how important it is to be encouraging those good lifestyle changes.
Absolutely.
And there's obviously going to be that pushback, where, some dude working in a factory, is going to say to
Right.
his guys on the line, like, really, are you going to eat those Pringles right now? They're going to be
Right.
like, yeah, dude.
100%.
Sorry.
I've lived on Pringles for 15 years. Yeah.
And I think that's why you see a lot of it on the fire department and like the fire departments and stuff too, pushing that health side and eating healthy because they know they're going to get a better firefighter out of it.
Sure.
So it is kind of curious, everybody wants to make, $30 an hour, but why don't you just focus on the stuff that's going to keep you healthy?
Absolutely.
Work your way up into those jobs where you're getting paid that. And, that's just my mindset. I know not everybody can do that, but
we live in such a culture that is so immediate and it's so accessible. And so we think everything should come immediately and it should come at a convenience because everything's convenience.
Mm-hmm.
We have a gas station, you can walk 5 feet and buy literally anything you want.
yeah.
So in the same culture, we've developed this idea that says, okay, let's do the same thing occupationally. I've been here for 5 minutes. I definitely should own the company by now. So
Yep.
why don't I?
Yeah, it's putting it, dude, so many people are so behind the power curve on putting in work. just putting in work, just putting your nose down and getting your work done and letting that do the talking. But you've got so much of this chatter, so much going on, and all of a sudden, you're on Facebook and you see there's another job opening or
Right.
whatever it is. You're on the internet and you're like, and just move on to the next job. I talked about this in one of the last podcasts, like that inability to follow through with a job. And where I was at a company where the dude I was standing there in the main office and he's like, hey, I'm turning in my badge, I'm quitting. And I'm standing there just kind of watching it like, what? And the secretary's like, oh, did you let your supervisor know? He's like, no, I couldn't find him. I'm quitting. She's like, well, good luck to you. Where are you going to now? He's like, well, I don't know. Something will come up. It's like, wow. Like, this is literally the world we are living in.
It's the culture that's
now.
been built, man. There's no, and so you know what? I really feel like, and this is a plug for my boss. I would genuinely do anything for him inside the workforce, outside the workforce, but it's because he's created a culture with me that has empowered me to want to do that for him.
Yep.
Even on days that I have off, even on weekends, even on late nights, like I'm still willing to do it because he has given me every opportunity to succeed.
That's cool.
He treats me right. He is, he's informative. He pays me probably way more than I deserve.
Yeah.
And so like for that type of empowerment, it's kind of almost made me want to be the best form of myself when I work for him.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a double-edged sword. We have a culture of people that believe in the immediacy and don't want to really work. But we also see this corporate ladder that says exploit people for as much as we can get out of them and then send them out back to wherever we got them and then go to the next guy.
Yeah, it's a very fickle road. And you could look at it the same way. It's the same way with just regular relationships, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to be with somebody, they're like,
Sure.
man, I'm going to get what I can, but they're going to be like, just like everybody else. So right out in the front door, out the back door, cool. Nice seeing you. And it drives me crazy.
Yeah,
and
it's unfortunate.
And, we're going to talk about different ways, where we've come from. And, because we're probably pretty close to the same age. Empathy is so huge.
Sure.
But it's that, we both have that drive to want to empower people, too, where it's like, hey, dude, kind of got to pull yourself up by the bootstraps,
Right?
And put a plan into action,
Right?
And that's a very tough, fickle beast for a lot of people. They don't, they just can't. It seems like they're spinning their tires,
Yeah.
and they just can't get that traction, And so you've got guys like you that want to be able to pull out those sandbags and throw that sand down
Right
in front, help them get traction. And even though we're doing it and they're maybe not realizing we're throwing that sand down, they're still kind of staying there and still twisting that up, So like I told you when we were out there talking before, for any of the guys that, hang out at the Man Day stuff,
Sure.
any of the guys that you have reach with, our doors out here at True North are always open for them to come out here, come hang with us, come be a part of the True North team and get, and kind of reinvent, not necessarily reinvent themselves, but remember,
Sure.
that there were better days and there will be better days ahead again. And
Right. I think that the thing that we do that is so difficult, especially for military personnel, is there's such a separation between, what you were a part of and then kind of coming home. And I think one thing that, at least what I've gathered from you, is that you've tried to blend those two together. So a lot of the things that you learned, a lot of things that you experienced, a lot of things that you put yourself through only made you that much better at life here.
Yeah.
And instead of trying to separate the two so much, learning that there's such a crossover.
Find a healthy blend.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the real key. And I think that's so huge on the Man Day stuff, that platform of doing that, of finding the different ways to, find those hobbies, find what it is that really is like, I've talked about this before. I'm not sure if I've talked about it in a podcast before. I think I did in the movie Phenomenon. Okay, have you ever seen that movie with John Travolta?
Yeah.
When he's talking about when he showed interest in that girl, and he was buying all those chairs, and the conversation happened when the one guy was having an argument with his wife. He's like, "Well, do you even know what your wife's chairs are? Are you investing? What are you investing in her? When she's putting her effort into that." And I think, looking at the Man Days and just being a man, being a human, being an individual, everybody's got to have their chairs, what it is that they're passionate about. And we've had that conversation where it doesn't have to be the gym. It doesn't have to be out shooting guns, and I know we both like to do stuff like that.
Sure.
But there's so much value in the human spirit, in passion.
Sure.
So no matter what it is, whether it is lifting weights or whatever, it can be painting, like we talked about the Spiva Arts Center. I know Compass Quest, going back to Compass Quest is very heavily invested in helping veterans get into painting and pottery. And it's always been, that's been kind of taboo, like, that doesn't seem real manly.
Right.
But I think people kind of miss the point on what it is to be manly, that it
Yeah,
doesn't
absolutely.
have to be lifting weights or shooting guns.
Sure.
It's passion.
Absolutely.
That is 100% what people respond to is passion.
Yeah.
You know, like when I'm talking about the leadership training and doing the leadership training, that it's much more than the running and gunning. And I think us as veterans, you know, embracing that. You know, we knew we were good when we were across seas
Sure.
or running missions. We knew what we were doing was important.
Right.
It's reinstilling the fact that we still offer so much to whatever it is that we touch.
Yep.
You know, so for the veterans and for guys that are out there and they're having, you know, these issues trying to find out where they fit, you guys are offering a great platform for that, to at least
Sure.
have that conversation.
Right.
At least a place to find out. We're not
Right.
saying, hey, be this person. We're saying these are examples of how we became the person that we are.
Sure.
What it is that we did to own ourselves. And I think if it gets looked at more that way, I'd love your opinion if I'm kind of on track here with what your goal is, because it's so important.
Yeah, it's identifying purpose. And when you get men who have so much energy and have so much drive, but it's so without direction, it just kind of turns into reckless living.
Yeah.
Or a lot of the times it turns into depression because they feel like they have this desire, but they don't know how to facilitate said desire. So for us, you know, and like we said, like not everybody's going to be the weightlifting type. Not everybody's going to be the shoot guns type. And so you're right. What we're trying to instill in men is not necessarily looking like society's idea of this like rough and tough
With our
kick the
beards,
door down.
with our beards, a
Right.
little bit of muscle,
Right.
shooting guns. We know
Right.
how it is.
Sure.
Tattoos on the arms.
Sure.
That's cool. You're not stereotypical.
Right,
at all.
absolutely. But so for me too, you know, like even in your sons being polite, you know, being polite, so like one thing that I value a lot is my relationship with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of a weird thing for some men sometimes because it's not always cool to like be your mom's friend. And
Yeah.
so my mom and I kick it all the time. And she, to me, provides me with so much value because she can speak things to me that my dad might not be able to.
Yeah.
And vice versa. And so like being a man is the healthy blend like you talked about. Sure, there is a time for war.
Yeah.
And there is a time for battle, and there is a time that you got to stand up and you got to put your chest out and you got to protect what's yours. But there's also a time for humility, and there's
Yeah.
also a time to be passionate and to expose your frustrations and your struggles to be able to overcome whatever adversity it is. And I think
100%.
when we blend those two together, all of a sudden society goes, whoa, like maybe we had this confused idea of what masculinity was because we looked at celebrities who exploited women and drugs and alcohol and money,
Yeah.
and that's who we thought men were. And then all of a sudden we changed our perspective to be like the culture of men has been quiet and is now suddenly starting to resurface, and to resurfacing in a way that we can get behind and we can support.
So when I sat there was 12 of them, sat them down, and I said, look, you know, you guys are going to be okay. Even without me, you're going to be okay. I'll always be here. You know, when you guys get to a certain age, you can always find me.
Yeah.
You know, you go through your healing stuff, and if you ever need anything all through life, reach out to me. And so I told these kids, you know, I said, hey, I've got to leave. And for a group of 12 kids that were just combat hard, these kids had 0 Fs to give.
Right.
And so when I told them that I was leaving, to watch 12 of the toughest kids I ever met bawl,
Yeah.
just start crying like the world is ending. You know, what are we supposed to do now? That'll impact you.
Yeah.
And that's stuck with me, you know, and now that was, you know, 5-6 years ago now.
Yeah.
So these kids have, you know, have come into age, turning 18, you know, and they've reached out to me on Facebook, and they still call me Mr. Jimmy. And they're like, Mr. Jimmy, I don't even think you understand how much you are needed at that point in my life.
Right.
And if we always have opportunities to be that person that's needed at that time in life.
And the success of an inspirational speaker in any moment is not the size of the audience, it's who you touch and reach.
Yeah.
So think about that moment, the impact that you had on those 12. You may never, ever get to see how powerful that will be as they go through their lives.
Yeah, you know, and I think about them a lot. I think about them all the time. Like I said, a couple of them are friends with me on Facebook.
Yeah.
And to hear their successes now, you know, coming through, graduating from high school, getting married,
Yes.
stuff like that. It's like, it's amazing to me. It is possible, you know, so it is possible.
And what you were experiencing was their gratitude. Even though they may not say, hey, thank you for coming, this means a lot, you still felt that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some gratitude can be shared and experienced without somebody saying that's gratitude. It's an energy. And much like you had that moment when I was speaking in front of a mental health organization, and this is to my point about it doesn't matter how big your audience is, whether it's thousands or 50. In this particular audience, there's like 75 people. But I went into detail about my childhood with my mom and all the living hell we went through and near-death experiences with her substance abuse. And when that was over, there were about 10 people that came up and wanted to speak to me. And everybody in the audience was either recovering, but a majority of them were family members that had somebody that was a substance abuser. And this woman come up to me, and she was about fifth in line. And when she got to me, she locked up. She couldn't speak. Her chin started quivering. Her eyes welled up, and I just held her. And I said, just take your time. And here we are, two strangers holding on to each other, and she's having a moment. And when she could finally speak, she backed up and she looked at me, and she said, my 6-year-old grandson is living right now through your childhood that you described. And she said, tonight, in this moment, was the first time I've ever had hope for him, and I want to thank you for that.
Wow. That's huge. That's unbelievable.
Can you imagine what I was feeling? I still feel it talking about that.
Yeah.
And one more story I want to share, just to interject right now. I mentioned I was 7 when Mom died.
Mm-hmm.
It was about 2 years ago, a friend of mine was on Facebook, and she mentioned that her daughter had died, and she had a son that was 7 years old. Well, that touched me because I know what that 7-year-old's going through losing his mama.
Mm-hmm.
And it was another one of those things where I'm like, okay, I'm going to reach out to this person. We're not connected on Facebook. I hope they don't think I'm a stalker or whatever.
Yeah.
So
You're pretty good at that.
I got a hold of Zenith, which is Howie's mom,
Mm-hmm.
Mama Z, and she reached out to Kim and said, this is who Doug is. He lost his mom at 7. And she said, yes, I want to talk to him. So within 10 minutes, I got Kim on the phone.
Wow.
And here we are, total strangers, and I'm talking with her, and I said, that really touches me. Because at the time, it was like a month removed from when he lost his mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I need to visit him. I need to come visit him or meet him quickly. And she said, this was like, I don't know, October. And she said, or December. It was December. And she goes, well, we're going to be back in Joplin or March. And I said, oh, no. This can't wait. And I didn't even know where she lived at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it was in Oklahoma City. And I said, what are you doing this weekend? And it was just one of those things in me.
Yeah, you just
like
felt
the
it.
Pilger.
Yep.
And I hopped in the car and went down there and spent a day and an evening. And we would just have to see what we have where we can help other people along the way. And the minute I met him, Peyton, when a little kid loses their mom or dad, nobody wants to talk to them because they don't know what to say and it's awkward.
Yeah.
And I immediately just started talking with him about his mom and making eye contact with him. And when we went in his room and he started looking at everything and showing me stuff, we're sitting on the bed and I said, so what do you have of your mama's that smells like her that you keep with you? And he looked at me like, how the hell did you know that?
Yeah.
And it was in that moment he thought, this guy's been there.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I was 40 years ahead of him on that journey, but here's somebody that is like become close friends of mine just because it was something that was on my heart. And I'm watching that little boy grow up now because I know what he's dealing with, and it will come in waves as he grows and deals with different things in, teenage years and so forth. But it all goes back to inspiring people.
Yeah.
Not only to pursue their passion, but to overcome and heal from something that has damaged them tremendously. It's a hurting world.
Oh yeah. If there's one thing that is definitely true, it is a hurting world right now. So being able to offer the platform like this podcast where people can listen in, and that's why I wanted you on so bad to have this conversation, because there's people out there that are struggling with so many different things right now.
Yeah.
And if I can utilize this podcast as a platform where someone can listen and be like that Doug Hunt guy, he gets it. He understands that. I want to be able to, utilize this where people are like, okay, I'm going through this. This Doug Hunt is a name that I can reach out to.
Yeah.
It's good knowing that I guarantee you, knowing you, that anybody could reach out to you at any time.
Yeah.
And be like, so Doug, can you talk for this, or can you help us with this, or how did you face this? And that's the beauty of gratitude.
It is.
And when that circle does come, when it does come full circle, it's that ability to be able to continue to give back.